Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to give thanks to those of us who are working in the fields.
And it is right to give thanks and praise.
For those who are working in factories and shops. And blessed are those working in Ralph's house.
Yes, good morning. And a biblical start at Ralph's house today. Yes, thank you for that one. Yeah, we're back and we're about to paper this ceiling, as you probably remember. And I was just first thing this morning seeing if I can, I've got this, I think it's emulsion paint, but a scraper does seem to shift it after a fashion. I took on board the tip I was given yesterday about Scotch-Brite. The only thing with Scotch-Brite is it does scratch. Well, scraper does, I suppose, but if you're keeping it flat, yeah, that'll all come off. So that'll give me something to do when I'm waiting for paper to dry. So first thing I need to do is measure the length and get an idea. Measure the length of my table. I'm assuming that's 6 foot, but we will measure that too, because that'll help me gauge, where to cut my paper. So I'll get my tape measure out and we'll measure that first. Yeah, so that's just shy of 6 foot by a couple of inches. I wonder what kind of size that is. It's not even metric, is it? Anyway, it's just 2 inches short, 6 foot, but it gives me a rough idea of where I am with the paper. So let's give the ceiling a measure. Well, obviously it's not really that practical to measure the ceiling, so but what I can do, there's the wall there, I've got the skirting on it, so perhaps just allow an inch, and I want at least an inch and a half overlap, so when it comes down here it runs down a bit, then I can cut proud. If I find that the first sheet is a little bit too long, I'll cut the other one, the next one slightly shorter, but I'll make a note of that. So if I follow this tape measure up, and bearing in mind the ceiling, or the length I've got it paced, is about, say, 4 inches in there. So taking a line off that, yep, we're looking at about, 11.5 feet. So that's my measurement. So as long as I'm over 11.5 feet, I should be about right. Now obviously I've got my paste table there, but as I paste these up, I've got to have somewhere to put them. So I've got this table here, but that needs a good cleaning. So first thing we'll do is get that all washed and cleaned and dried down, and then I can stack my paper on it, and it's not going to get dirty, is it? Just to start nice and clean. Nothing worse than working in muck and grit. Don't need it, do we? No. Okay, we've got a chalk line. All I need now is a pin that I can stick in the ceiling to tie one end of the chalk to, and then I can adjust it accordingly and check it out with the tape measure. Then when I've got it pulled taut across the ceiling, I can pin it and it'll leave a nice blue line. That's the theory anyway. There's a selection of pins, and also when I was over in Pershore in Worcestershire, I found this in a second-hand shop. Absolutely perfect for a wallpaper brush. Now, before we put the string across, I'm going to have to walk the paper across the ceiling, and thanks to Roy for this. It's good advice, because what you don't want to do is start, say, papering from that side. You've got 1, 2, 3, whatever, and you get to the end and you've got a little sliver that you've got a paper. You want to avoid that. So the idea is to find a sort of central point and see where your paper is going to end up when you get to each side. Like I say, doing fiddly bits over that length pain in the neck. So that's the first thing we've got to do, is walk it. And the best way to do that is use an unopened pack, because then effectively that becomes your ruler, so you can more or less judge it. I should just about be able to do this on the floor, I think. And this is the widest part of the room, so that's what I'm going to use as my reference point, allowing for the skirting and allowing for some overlap. Yeah, not straightforward, because it's kind of Z-shaped, this room, if you think about it. Do you know what I mean? So I think I'm going to use this line as my reference line. That little bit that's in there, got plenty of offcuts that would fill that nicely. So I'm not going to worry too much about that one. I can just put in an extra strip for that corner. So we use that as the reference line. And actually we're not too far off. I can almost paper to that line and just leave it a slight overlap. I've calculated it across there anyway. So we'll get an idea and just see how straight this wall is in relationship to the window. Yeah, it's pretty good actually. So that's where I'm going to bring my line off. So my start line, well, I'm going to start here. I'm going to put my first line up here. And you know, because I'll have a full width of roll and a bit of overlap down that side, and that's where we'll start from. Again, on the other side, that's a relatively short piece, so that shouldn't be too bad to do, you know. And I'll probably end up with something like, I'm guessing, about a 1/10 width at the end. That's all right, that's workable. So, right, need to get up and measure away from this wall, cut the width of the roll, plus 1 inch overlap. Right. Got plenty of chalk in there now, like a little flap so you can get it in. Give it a good shake. Just to err on the side of caution, I'll say it's 22 inch, we'll make it 20 inch. Just to err on the side of caution, it's, as I said, like I say, it's 22 inches wide. We allowed 20 inch. That kind of allows for any deviation in that wall. And judging by the boards, it's pretty parallel, to be honest. So I'll call it 20 inch. And yeah, so I'm going to get up and put a pencil line up on the ceiling to start with. Right, just stretch the chalk line across the ceiling, and basically what I've got to do is pull that ping in, should leave a nice chalk line, but I'm going to double check with my tape measure, and also view it by eye. That's just as important before I actually mark that ceiling. What else do they say? Measure twice, cut once. Right, that's my guideline. Now I gather with the first one, you work that way, and then on the next one, you work back that way. But after that, it doesn't matter. Don't know, maybe somebody will explain that one. But almost every decorator seems to say that. There's obviously some truth in it. Right, so that's what we'll do. We'll get the first piece of paper cut and pasted. Now, so the table is just short of 6 foot by 2 inches, or short of 12 foot by 4 inches, yes. And the paper has got to be 11.5 feet. It is basically double the length of this table, give or take, with a bit more overlap. If I find that that's just a little bit too long, I can adjust on the next one. First piece, twice the length of this table, so that'll make it easy to cut. Also, while I'm doubling this up, because actually once you start cutting this paper, apart from a slight difference in texture, it's not easy to see which way round you've got it. So I'm going to, inside, just mark an X. Right, that's it, cut, measured and cut, but because it's so curly, I need to break the back of this a bit. So that means rolling it up the opposite way and squashing it down a bit. I don't have to press it too hard, but it just makes it a lot easier when you're pasting it. It isn't curling up. Yeah, it's better and it does lay flat. These slight creases, trust me, they vanish when the paper gets wet. But at least now it lays flat. And if the length of this paper is spot on, because I'm just going to get the first one up, if the length is correct, then I shall cut 2 or 3 of them so I'm ready to go. And as I paste this one, I shall put it on that table, which I'm just about to clear. Leave it to sit there for 10 minutes. And while I'm doing that, I could actually be cutting the next one, but like I say, I want to see how it sits on the ceiling first, get that first one in, and then we'll cut a couple more and we'll start to stack them there. So give them a good 10 minutes each. I think it's something like 7 minutes on this, but I'll allow it a good 10. And then I'll have to, you'll see as I fold the paper over. I've got this ready mix with good advice from Roy. I know you can get the stuff in the packets, and certainly you can get cheaper wallpaper paste, but I want to make still sure this stuff sticks, you know what I mean? And you want to get your paper just over the edge of the paste table and paste out, not in, because if you paste in you'll end up with paste on that side, you know, where you don't want it. So right, we'll get all that pasted. I'll just give that good 10 minutes to soak now, so I'll pop that on the other table. Right, while I'm waiting for that to soak, so I've got to give it a good 10 minutes, just make sure I get myself prepared. Brush, smooth it out. Scissors, very important. It will be because I've got to come around there. So actually I don't know which end to start. I'm always tempted to come that way. I think it might be easier to do that, but we'll see, we'll see. And yeah, like I say, got a pencil. And that's my plank. That's more than enough, I can work across that. They're quite sturdy, these chairs. So. Yeah, I should be careful. Well, I can't say that was easy. I had to fight for it. I think I got about as far as there and struggled with it. I had to take it back down, refold it, then put it back up. But it's all right now, it's in. And cut around the edges. I just managed to dash off and find my sharp knife, because that was the only way to cut that edge. But at least now I've got a straight edge and I can follow on from that. So wish me luck as I cut the next one. Well, I'll cut the next couple, I guess, really. And yeah, this should be a lot easier now because I haven't got to go around this blasted bend, which was a real nuisance. But hey ho. Right, so let's do the next one. And again, length of the board, double it over. Again, I'll need to break the back of this. I'll just put an X on now, which is the ceiling side. Right, so we'll roll this up the opposite way now. Break its back a bit. It's not perfect, but just seemed to stop it. Unroll. Yeah, it's sort of concertina fashion basically. Glue to glue, if you get me meaning. You don't want paste on the outside face. Just emulsion doesn't like that stuff, which is why I'm keeping this bucket with a big sponge in it, and you know, I've got to wipe around all the edges again. So yeah, just keep on pasting. Is it a fun job? No. Short answer to that one. But it's a necessary job. I want to get it done so I can get this ceiling painted and finished. Got to make sure you get right up to those edges. And to be fair, any painters and decorators watching, this is probably not the best way to do it, but I'm managing, you know, I'm giving it a go. So don't be too hard on me, you know. When you've got a concertina it up, you put this stick underneath the full width, just level with one end of it. And that's what you're holding your paper up. So you've got it sort of balanced on the stick. That's the theory. Didn't quite work out like that first time. But anyway, I haven't done such big folds this time. So maybe that'll help. Anyway, let's get this, let's get the first one up. I have to say, the second one went on a lot easier. Could do with a little bit of paste under an edge there, I think. But might just need brushing out. Anyway, I'll do that and then I'll get the next one up. Well, might as well paste the next two, and then I've only got that little insert, and I could probably do that tomorrow if I wanted to. Yeah, as long as we've covered the most of it. Yes, right, so let's paste two more bits of paper. So I know which is the inside. I don't know if it makes any difference, I presume it does. But, you can't look at the texture, it looks identical both sides, so perhaps it is. Anyway, I'll stick to the one side, just beyond the safe side. Now that gives you an idea where I've got to. I think really it's looking at 2 rolls and then short bits. Yeah, I should come about there. The next one I'll have to cut round for that, and then there'll be, I don't know, about a foot to put on this short piece. I have a feeling what I've cut from this roll, I don't think it's going to be enough for another full length, but I think that one will probably be enough to do that short piece. Anyway, I'm going to have a break, have a cup of tea. Sweat's dripping off me. Just take 20 minutes out, and then we'll get pasting, get the last 2 up. Now that says which side of the paper you should paste. So yes, there is an outside and inside, even though they look the same. I presume it's just the properties of it, yeah. Otherwise it doesn't say much, it doesn't say anything about how long to leave it for either. Unless there's anything on the back of this thing. Let's have a look. 8 to 10 minutes. See it? Just there, look. So I'm doing it about right then, 10 minutes. And by the way, this is 1400 grade. This you can get a lesser grade, you can get thinner paper, but apparently it doesn't hide defects as well as 1400. Not that there's a lot of defects, but get the decent stuff, eh? Oh, there we go. Really, I've only got that little bit in the bay. There's not a lot to do there. I've got plenty of offcuts for that. I've got a strip here, and I've got a strip about that wide. In fact, slightly wider. I can finish that tomorrow. Definitely, I'm not going to do any more today. And a little strip in that corner. But yeah, that's it. And all cut off neat. I should just go around and make sure there's nothing loose, no edges sticking up. But yeah, great. Well, that's paper the ceiling. So that's it from Raoul's house today. Left thumb, remember, not right thumb. So give us a thumbs up, a thumbs down, and leave a comment. Yeah. See you tomorrow. Ta-ra. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe.